I'm still watching Rachel Maddow's show, 'cause she's digging all kinds of shit up on the arch trader general fuckery.
The way it treated me too many times before. Don't you know you love me, baby, too? Oh, you know I want you there, I wanna be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side till the day I die. 'Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. Oh, now you done and piss me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going on. Oh, I'm going on.
I'll wait for you there, like a stone. I'll wait for you there. You're not alone anymore, Chris. Sorry if I killed any good mood anybody was in, but I wanted to take a moment to something I knew was going to happen. But not only did I know it was going to happen, but I knew he was going to be targeted for his perceived mental state. But let's say this: someone who knows how to express themselves on a certain level has more wisdom and is in more control than gossip circles care to discuss. Tiger Lily, go on. Even when it comes to cats. Yeah. So anyways, hold on one second. Let me make sure the animals are tended to right quick. You can have a lovely view of my bedroom for a second right now. Oh, after I fall on it. I get done tending to stinky ass rotifer cultures that I'm trying to reignite. Feeding all the fish. And the kids can't even feed their freaking cat and the dog. So, now that that's out of the way, management. Yeah. So this little serial box ransom note headline is brought to you by Science and Leadership and whatnot, and it's going to just stay up because I didn't have time to make a little slide for tonight because I was so entranced by the Rachel Maddow broadcast. But welcome to this broadcast, speaking of which. And, thanks for joining me on YouTube's fake TV channel, The Lost Begotten. I am your host, as always. Fake TV is The Lost Begotten. And as soon as I click on the light on the right box here, I'll check in on the chat here. How's it going, Lacey? What's up, Sean? Yo, Jimmy. Howdy, Maximo. What's going on, Danny? To anybody who's having any kind of serious depressed thoughts, I hope you've already reached out to us please do if you haven't. We are available for individual counsel. That is my wife and I, and other people on here. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. There's a lot of suicides that I just don't buy. And one of the most suspicious methods, is hanging. And it was a couple of weeks ago that Chris Cornell played an acoustic bit on ABC GMA, the Good Morning America show, because it's, the only channel I get, right? So I'm sure it was that show, because I don't get any other fucking channels. At least I'm pretty sure it was on regular TV and not just on YouTube. Damn it. Okay, so I'm not entirely certain. I thought I was certain because of the one channel thing, but I'm not entirely certain I was watching it live. I'm pretty sure I was watching it live. But anyways, while I was watching it, I had a feeling he was going to be leaving us soon. And I had a feeling it was something that was in the mind of somebody else as a plot based on his, activities, his friends, their views, that kind of thing. Do I really need to say it? There's been dozens, if not hundreds of people at this point who have met untimely ends because it seemed excusable, it seemed plausible, it seemed like a believable sensation. But I tell you what, man. On the surface, it seems like there is a lot of depression in Chris Cornell's lyrics. But there's a lot of wisdom there and a lot of depth. And aside from that, one can think of a lot more pleasant ways to end one's current walk than to, piss up a rope or whatever. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you're going to go when it's your time. And if it's not your time, there's more work that God has for you to do. Okay? And it's an utter act of selfish stupidity to think you can take a premature exit and not suffer any consequences for it. That being said, there was a lot of people with psychological problems who, I don't want to say wind up blameless, but the idea that they're not forgiven is preposterous. So anyways, everybody needs to vent. And Chris Cornell was a master of vent lyrics. If you had a nice day to have your windows down so it was noisy enough to where you could sing at the top of your lungs and some Soundgarden came on the radio, you had an opportunity to relieve a lot of stress, okay? That's all I'm saying. grown man, come together with your plan. All my friends are skeletons. Feel the rhythm with their bones. So anyways, I'm so blown away by how much freaking different news I just absorbed over the course of the day, and just in that one broadcast. I don't even know where to begin. Here, I'm speechless. How about y'all read my lips? There you go. Okay. Can you lip read? There. Lip reading for dummies. If only it was in focus. Ow. That was a surprisingly sticky note. Anyway. So, I have some headlines, some notes here that I've written in little boxes and things when I ran out of room, and I know you can't see this, but I can stick it on my screen and it looks like the headlines. How about that? Now I can't read it, but you know, it's stupid, so I'm laughing at myself, and you might be too. Okay, so moving on. Wait, maybe if I stick it on there and then screen capture that. No, never mind. Yeah. Can't screen capture a sticky note, dumbass. So, let's see if one of these fits with speaking of dumbasses. Oh, yes, okay. Speaking of dumbasses, let's have a little Schoolhouse Rock session. No. I want to talk about a little civics lesson here about how a bill becomes a law. Wait, maybe I just cover that up for you with the headlines. Wait, something work. Ah, no, it's all gone wrong. I tried. Shit. There we go. There we go. Chat is off, or ish. It's half off. Low price of $19.95, 4 easy installments. Wait, what? Call now. But wait. There's always a but wait. So, I'm gonna stop acting like a dumbass now. And speaking of dumbasses, how a bill becomes a law, according to dumbasses. Step 1, collect underpants. No, wait, that's the wrong shit. No. First, Paul Ryan. No, wait. I was getting ahead of myself. First, Mitch McConnell's wife decides that he's spat up too much blood on their mattress. You know, because obviously she beats him. Okay, wait. Try to get through this straight faced. Then they take that mattress, and then Paul Ryan writes the bill on it. Then they have a bunch of hookers pee on it. Then Trump rubs his balls on it. And then it becomes a law. Right? Isn't that right? I got a good grade in the civics, I promise. That's probably pretty close to how a bill becomes a law. At least fucking these days it might as well be. So anyways, that's all right. That was the joke I told my wife earlier that I now reenacted for you. Which is how most of the pre-rehearsed jokes, I mean they're few and far between, but when I do pre-rehearsed jokes, they're just jokes I told my wife earlier that I like wrote a stupid note about. And that's, yeah. Whether or not it's funny, I guess you could just blame her. So anyways, the definition of rogue. Sorry, it's not in the headlines. There we have a little headline clip there. The definition of rogue. See, there's been an interesting behind the scenes political narrative in this country for several decades now that let me go and put the chat back up, so if anybody gets bored with what I'm talking about, they can always see y'all. So what I was saying was, for the past several decades, there's been a behind-the-scenes political narrative that so few people were aware of, that the people who are aware of it have been very cautious on how they talk about it, not only to the public, but even with each other. And because of this, there has been a lot of historical and present misconceptions. Like, for instance, I didn't know with certainty until tonight's Rachel Maddow broadcast, actually, really whether Comey was Mr. Independent or not. Okay? Really seems like he's a Mr. Independent. All right? Yeah, and Lacey, hurry up. Okay? Say no more. Sheesh. But Mr. Independent is 6'8". Did y'all know that? He's taller than me. Holy shit. A while back, I had talked about how I wondered whether or not he was Dutch, whether he was Danish, actually. 6'8". Oh yeah, probably. It's hard to mix Mongol and Polish and get 6'8". You know, at least not like skinny and intelligent. Anyways, that's just what I know from thousands of years of seeing people purposely try to breed humans for slaves. But what would I know? So anyways, looking at my open image folder instead of staring off into my clouds like I usually do. I don't have any headlines up. Where's my headlines? What am I talking about here? Oh yes, the definition of rogue. Okay, so I might have to get back into that, into more context. Because, there's just so much shit that's been going on. Okay, so, like, with Comey as an example, you hear rogue, you think Sarah Palin, right? No, fucking nothing rogue about that bitch. Rogue is, basically one person's opinion or an agency's opinion of one person, a group of people's opinion of one person. That's rogue. All right, so was Comey rogue in his willingness to cooperate with Trump? Something we were concerned with for quite some time, something I was concerned with. I don't know about y'all. But, if you go back to the Clinton era, even the Bush era, what was the definition of rogue at that time? Was rogue supporting a political agenda against the establishment? Was rogue supporting a bipartisan or nonpartisan agenda against a politicized establishment? Okay, so it all depended on how you looked at it at the time. And if you go back to like right after, like I'm looking for my notes for help on what I was trying to talk about with this shit, and I'm finding none. So if you go back to just after the Cold War, what was rogue at that point? Was rogue someone who thought the Cold War was over? Or was rogue someone who didn't want to move on, who wanted to keep their guard up? I think the answer is the latter. So people who were considered rogue and who were ganged up by an establishment, it needs to be decided whether or not that establishment was a political establishment at the time, and what was the result of it. Was the political assassination of Bill Clinton vis-a-vis someone who hated their father, who didn't like growing up as a military brat, who worked at the Pentagon for a long time, didn't feel like she could get ahead because she was a woman and she wasn't very attractive. And someone with the last name Lewinsky. But because the Cold War was over, you have to be rogue to have said, wait a minute, this could be a KGB plot. This is exactly the kind of shit they do. And you definitely have to be rogue 3 years later to acknowledge when Russian scientists, Moscow University scientists in particular, came out saying that they could fake DNA evidence. Basically replicate genetic material that would show up as a positive result. 3 years later, they announced it. 98, 2001. But it couldn't possibly. You have to be rogue to think that at that time. So what's rogue now? What was rogue in between that? There's a simple definition for me. Politics versus honor. And I think people need to realize that the majority isn't always right. In times of never-ending war, especially when that war's primarily fought on the battlefield of perception, and its weapon is deception. I mean, the United States have been doing it too, or playing along with it, or trying to compete with it, or something, for quite some time. But, you can't look at history and look at the map and confuse things on who's conquering and who's running from the conquerors. This is the nation of refugees where all the people who ran from the conquerors came, and basically over 400 years we've been bullshitted, subdued, bullshitted, subdued, and bullshitted some more, and now we're about to be subdued again. And if we don't figure out what's rogue and who belongs in the Department of Justice, who belongs in the FBI, who belongs in National Security, who belongs in Homeland Security. We need non-political people in those types of positions, my God. Or, I mean, we're not a democracy. We're a fascist state. Like, it would be like, just to flip the other coin around, and not to beat a dead horse, but if Bernie Sanders won, which I don't think he would. I don't think he would have if he was the Democratic candidate. But, well, because he's a socialist, not a Democrat, so I wouldn't have fucking voted for him, neither would any centrist in the country. But if Bernie Sanders would have won and basically appointed people who had far left ideology, who clamped down on free enterprise, and who turned the country into everything had to be government mandated welfare state, that would be fascism too. Okay? When you have a government by the people, for the people, of the people, what you need is the ability to compromise, like what fucking Hillary Clinton knew how to do, what Bill Clinton knew how to do, what even George W. Bush knew how to do, actually. And for some reason, we've all just stopped being adults in the past couple of years. Because, in large part, this web of paranoid deception that, instills paranoia on people gives us a sense that shit like this couldn't even happen. Okay? And think about the brilliant strategic implications of that for a second. Okay? If they can make people paranoid of their government as far as the type of shit with the FEMA camps and the taking over and like all that crap, when it comes to the point at which they send their infiltrator here, as I warned you about 2 years ago, way before the fucking election started, okay? Way before. I mean, when I was telling you to read Dune, that was why. That's the Fat Baron's fat son, okay? So if he stays there, be even more wary of his replacement, okay? But just going back to what I was saying, he's been sent here, to fuck shit up, to just be incompetent as can be. And we're in a situation that it's kind of nice how much has been coming out about the different people who have had still undisclosed, now finally disclosed contacts with Russia, and they're finally going after the previous investigations from what's his name, Preet Bharara, Bharara. Sorry, that's a fun name. And delving into the final financial contacts and the communications between Paul Manafort and Jeff Sessions and Ukrainian oligarchs and Russian intelligence and diplomatic security officers. My fucking head's spinning. I'm losing track of what I'm saying here. It's like it's all finally happening. And I hope y'all, if y'all haven't caught it, stay tuned for the uploads that people are going to put up of Rachel Maddow's broadcast from tonight. And really, like, if you haven't been watching her broadcasts, you might want to go binge watch. Just like put it on play. Like, go to MSNBC's channel and they have a Rachel Maddow section. Wait until after she does tonight's upload, and then go just put it on play and see if you can absorb all that shit. Because wow, I mean, just fucking wow. It really does seem like Mueller not rogue. You know? Maybe Obama viewed him as rogue. Oh wait, and I just remember what I was talking about. Okay. But maybe Obama viewed him as rogue, you know, like maybe Obama thought he was the politicized establishment. But it's also possible that, if y'all remember me talking about the Pelosi leverage, the point at which basically George W. Bush seemed to have had a reality check, and Nancy Pelosi seemed to be involved with it as if she was given some information. Okay. And the information, I think, was regarding that Putin had basically bullshitted George W. Bush into overextending our military and completely fucking us over economically. Basically into a fucking 10th crusade. What how many crusades have there been? Oh, fucking into a 5th crusade. 4th crusade? 4th crusade. Whatever. 9th crusade. Into another fucking crusade. Which is basically a fool's errand meant to waste European resources, or Western resources now. And it might have been Mueller who would have been rogue against the Bush administration, the political establishment at the time. He might have been in with the people who had noticed that the Cold War wasn't entirely over. So now what's rogue? He's not rogue. He's rogue against the fascism. Apparently, hopefully, maybe. Seems like it could be. Possibly, maybe, hopefully. Let's all pray that that's the case. Now I've forgotten what I was talking about again, or what I was going to talk about again, because I was button pops with the Nancy Pelosi leverage. Shit. I'm going to drink some more coffee. Coffee's running rather low. We're out of bag coffee, down to the Curries that my dad was so kind to have sent us again. Yeah. those Keurigs. Oh no, I'm gonna start my own Keurig gate. Oh wait, nobody sees this channel anyways. So anyways, what was the comparison? I was right in the middle of 3 minutes ago. Shit. Didn't have anything to do with the Pelosi leverage. Let's see here. Manafort sessions, pre-Ferrara, investigations, definition of rogue. None of this is helping. Does the chat scroll all the way down? Oh, wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. Wish I could scroll back and watch myself. I'm gonna sit here and try to remember it under the assumption that it was something relatively important. Fuck. It's funny, I'm sitting here recalling every bit of the thing that I just said except for that. What was I talking about before I went into the Nancy Pelosi leverage, into Mueller's possible roguery? This is getting awkward now. So, I guess I'll try to just recount shit and see if I work my way back around to it. All right. After I button a button here. Fuck, I could probably use some air conditioning in this house. So we've got Comey, who's apparently his friend was interviewed by PBS NewsHour today. Is being reported by people who know him as having been kind of disgusted by Trump's behavior in general, and kind of wary of Trump trying to bring him into the fold. And Rachel Maddow showed this clip of when Comey was sitting there standing across the room from Trump and felt very awkward because, and I had the impression at the time that what Trump was doing was trying to make it publicly seem like Comey was bringing him into the fold, and Major Rod was very keen on remembering that happened, or whoever of her staff had remembered to bring that up. Because that whole scenario in which he tried to make Comey seem like his friend publicly, that's just a really improper a dictator salad type thing to do. If anybody remembers, feel free to freaking comment. Because like there was like a whole fucking place I was going with all that shit, and like, my God. So Comey, I believe, replaced Mueller. And that was around the time of the Pelosi leverage. So was Mueller replaced, or did he, under a similar rogue type situation, or was his 10-year term up? I don't remember that. I would need to Google that or whatever. But that's an interesting. Yeah, it was before that. Must have been important. Anyways. So maybe if Joey winds up watching on his phone, he can get it to the right part and then remind me, and I'll remember to bring it up tomorrow or something. Or maybe I'll still remember it today. I'm kind of low on sleep and food right now, but it's possible my brain will manage to function. Possible. So, if people look back at the historic situation on, maybe I should just go ahead and get more coffee. If people look back on the historic situation on, how we ran from here and how we maintain order here, and what's really important about being here and being together as a country, we can find this path forward that puts honor before a partisanship, rhetorical, nonsensical, hot button argument, and we need to really just educate our children and have more of awareness about what is appropriate and what indicates bullshit. Because when someone says that Hillary Clinton's going around the country ripping babies out of their wounds, somebody's been bullshitting them. Okay, and effectively they're suffering from psychosis and they need psychological help. They've lost touch with reality. All right, you might want to consider taking their shoelaces, like that kind of thing. All right, so let me get some coffee right quick, and y'all listen to this.
I know why can't I get back, get back, get back, get back? I know you coming through, you're trying, oh you're trying to get me, you're trying too hard. I'm going, baby, I'm going too far. I want something better than this, yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. And let's see here. Clickety click click. Let's see here. What the hell? What are we talking about? It's kind of the question of the hour, isn't it? I guess that's one good thing about Keurigs is it shouldn't take you long to brew yourself a cup of coffee. Trying to think of some way I can use wasted Keurig things in aquaculture. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to PC down right quick. It'll just get humid and funky as hell in here. Because you know that's what hell's like, humid and funky. Yes, coffee. So, we definitely got to teach our children about how to recognize responsible discourse versus funded fuckery in general. And I think that, you know, if the FBI is going to, geez, I can't tolerate that button right now. If the FBI is going to say, allow one of its field offices to use a Breitbart publicized novel to base a investigation against Hillary Clinton off of, then, you know, they should be well within their rights to say, base an investigation on Donald Trump off of Rachel Maddow's broadcasts, things like that. Good coffee. So anyway, I have some more general topics that are just not on this subject, and I really want to try to remember what the fuck I was saying earlier. Stupid Sean. And speaking of stupid, no wait. So anyways, another thing that's a must, and I'll just go ahead on to the next fucking topic. Just gonna let it go. If in general we want to have a government that's by the people, of the people, for the people, we need to continue to enhance and strengthen antitrust legislation. We've really fallen behind on it. And, you know, at one point, such things were justified for national security interests. But that has completely backfired. And it's really hurt the American economy. Okay. So let's see. Antitrust reform is a must. All right. So basically, we need to limit hostile takeovers. Okay, and what a hostile takeover is, and this is, in a nutshell, why it's wrong. It's just by the definition of it. It should be fucking illegal, like as a pattern. But the individual actions that lead up to a hostile takeover, it's hard to regulate those things. So what you need to do is have a broad sweeping regulation that can address the percentages of ownership on a state-by-state basis. So basically what a hostile takeover is the difference between a conglomerate that buys other companies and a corporation that you start, that a guy with an idea started, a family that built a product, that built a company started, and, you know, maybe teamed up with, had some mergers. There's a difference between takeovers and mergers. And maybe you've had some mergers. Maybe your company has done quite well within your region. But then, what you didn't know was that one of your much bigger national or international competitors, namely international competitor like Walmart, okay, has been buying up your stocks through shadow funds. Then, suddenly, they dump all those fucking stocks on the market. And that means all your other stocks devalue rapidly. And then what happens is they make an offer to buy all that shit at sort of the value that was fair to begin with, but not really. They'll still, they'll be like, oh, you're basically going to go out of business now because we caused your fucking stock to crash. Here's our offer. And because nobody else knows what really happened, that, they're the only ones making that offer. And, Walmart, again, is a primary example of how this hurts the economy. Because picture this. See, for every Walmart, you can probably account for about 15 businesses. Okay. And about what does Walmart have, like fucking 200 employees per Walmart? Okay, something like that. Shit, at least. They got a lot of fucking employees. All right. So if you got 15 businesses worth of production, they got auto service, they got gardening, they got all kinds of different shit. And you have one person doing accounting, one person doing human resources, and one management staff, one set of managers. Okay. And sure, you have the department managers, but those people are like making 15, 17 bucks an hour if they're lucky, if they've been there a long time. You know what I'm saying? They're not really making decent money. That's like barely survival money. Especially for the amount of responsibility those people actually hold and for the amount of gross profit that goes through their departments. But anyways, those people aren't really accounted for. Okay. But those people are the only economic benefit of a place like Walmart. Because what happens is, if instead of Walmart, you had the 15 local businesses, okay, instead of this one big grocery store that had all this other shit attached to it, you had 3 local grocery stores, and then you had 10 other businesses, and then 2 different little tire change centers, garden, a couple of lawn garden places, a nursery place, a little hardware, mom and pop shop that can sell the kind of stuff that Walmart sells in their gardening and tool section, right? A fishing tackle shop that's put out of business by Walmart's bait and tackle and hunting section. Each one of those people either employs or contracts out an independent accountant, human resources, payroll services. Okay, they have another building that a different independent contractor, instead of a corporate contracting logistics service, gets paid to maintain. They might have their own accountant. There might be an independent accountant in town that has to shut down because all those different businesses are no longer hiring him because Walmart has their own fucking single accountant that's doing the jobs of all these other people's accountants and him. So what is the macroeconomic effect of this? Well, it basically means that chances are your college degree doesn't matter. That's what it means. Conglomeratization. The corporate flagging. Okay, like you have McDonald's and you have Burger King. Like, I'm not talking like all corporations, all national chains and shit like that. I'm talking the ones that take over, and the one who, through unfair business practices and through lack of regulation, destroy local economies. They really do. the overarching effect is we can get by with a bunch of fucking dummies. Okay? Because these people who got their accounting degrees, who got their human resources associates or whatever, who you know, went to college for business and or minored in business and majored in something else and then started their own business doing it, they can no longer sell the products that they sell. And whatever service they provided, whatever expert service that person provided, that's no longer available. Did you know how hard it is to find like a repair person anymore? Or like just like an individual expert on something? They're really hard to find now. It's really hard to find that independent person who just gets paid for how damn smart they are. And that's because people like that don't just rely on their service. Their business models rely on a combination of things. And if Walmart comes in there and they can just monster them on that side of their profits, then guess what? They got to shut their business down and go find a job for a corporation. That's why a lot of people wind up moving out of state and shit like that. They had a dream, and the big corporate giant killed it. So there needs to be a percentage of regulation based on the competition in a given market within a state. And if your business model projects that you're going to take over more than 10% of a given market share, you shouldn't be allowed in that state. Because what service does it perform other than enrichment of the few? It's consolidation of wealth with the worst possible consequences. It's costing educated people their jobs. And costing educated people their jobs on the level that places like Walmart has done has made it to where, I mean, I have a lot of friends who did well in school and who had problems finding jobs for the degrees that they had. And most of them, you know, either had to settle for something else and work their way up, or had to move somewhere else to find work, you know? Anyways. So, let's talk about spirit pressure. Anybody else want to talk about bleach concepts? I like bleach concepts. I like money. Being idiocracy. It's almost been a week since we've watched Idiocracy. So, spirit pressure is something that is hard for most people to detect. Okay, it's hard for most cameras to detect. Well, unless they're pointed at me. But anyway, but there are two ways in which spirit pressure clearly manifests in this dimension that can be relatively easily identified. And that is leverage and respect. I almost needed to read it, but then I remembered. Leverage, like, what was the movie with John Travolta where it was the alien with the dreadlocks? Leverage, leverage. And respect. And those two forms of spirit pressure are very much associated sort of with yin and yang. See, where for instance, the spirit pressure that someone who is skeptical of me can suddenly find themselves sensing, whether they're aware of it or not, the sensation that they're sensing is based upon the potential of possibilities. Okay. And that level of respect is something that subdues other thought influences. And it's better understood in terms of the one that wouldn't have demons fighting you from trying to understand it and me from trying to explain it. Leverage. I just like saying it like that. Leverage. Now, leverage is something that you can understand, at least after I explain this to you, you'll be able to understand when you watch Bleach in terms of being overwhelmed by the possibilities, being overwhelmed by someone's frequency of thought and action. Okay? How fast they can do something, how fast they can outthink you. Okay? Awareness of somebody's power over you, whether it be political power, legal power, financial power, social power, mental power, physical power, spiritual power. Awareness on any level of somebody's power over you is the spiritual pressure that you feel that I refer to as leverage. Because when someone exhibits that they have leverage over you, when you perceive that they have leverage over you, that fight or flight level of intimidation takes over, and you feel very much what's on Bleach presented akin to spirit pressure. I think about spirit pressure in context of Bleach. Spirit pressure is basically you're being overwhelmed by their capability. Now, on a spiritual plane, their capability would be relevant to their spiritual age, their spiritual power, and their imaginative, creative competence in manifesting that spiritual power as a means by which to defeat an enemy. Okay. And the ability to perceive that spiritual pressure or the projection of that spiritual pressure causes someone who is overwhelmed by it to cease functioning, basically. Now, when someone on this plane has spirit pressure in terms of leverage, it can be their own personal spirit pressure, but more than likely it's the result of the demons that assist them. And those demons are what drive and focus them towards acquiring the tangible aspects of that leverage. And then those demons are what keep you aware of it and keep those thoughts pressured into you and make you feel helpless, like there's nothing you can do, like we're stuck with this fucker. leverage. You can feel it, can't you? You can feel that spirit pressure, that evil, negative. Just tune in on it. Focus on the possibilities of him staying. How insidious. That's what I'm talking about. That's the leverage side of spirit pressure. Now, think about Comey being 6'8" and actually being independent. Forgive him for being misled and being stubborn about his opinions regarding Hillary Clinton. Think of him as a rogue who steadily learned. That spirit pressure on this plane, you can sense it. That's respect. Those who know me and know my story from this life, when you think about the bullshit I've endured, when you think about my childhood and, my teenage years and gangs and all that shit and Hurricane Katrina and being homelessness, and you know that I never gave up on God and faith and helping other people, what you're sensing is respect. Because based on the path behind me, what the path in front of me is more than likely going to look like. Just like, based on some of the stories I've told, what might happen if the shit ever hit the fan. I mean, I might as well just, in terms of bleach, if you know that somebody has fought 30 people, it's not leverage that you're sensing. That's respect. That's knowing chances are anybody who goes and tries to fight that motherfucker is going to have their ass handed to them. That's spirit pressure. That's vibrational overwhelmedness of frequency. I don't even know how to make up enough words to explain it properly. Now, Comey's spirit pressure is similar in even more ways. Because he has let go of his leverage and become sort of a beacon of truth. And I kind of realized that there was going to be hope for this when I heard from his friend who you should definitely go see the interview on the PBS NewsHour. It's a 25-minute interview. Basically said that he seemed relieved. Okay? He seemed relieved. That's the attitude of a faithful person. Okay? That's the attitude of someone who trusts in justice. And his faith in that action, in his own firing, he's not taking it personally. He's kind of, I think, thanking God. He's kind of being gracious in prayer. Because he knows that now that this idiot's done that and then said the things he said, he sees evidence that God's in control here. So now that spirit pressure that you sense from James Comey is respect. Used to be leverage. Great deal of leverage. But if you look back on it, see how surrounded in deception it was. Which side of the yin and yang is that leverage on? That's not to say someone like myself could not utilize leverage, but it's not exactly a habit or anything I can even think of an example of. But anyways, I'm about to fucking pass out here, so I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast without having thought of whatever the hell it was I was going to talk about earlier. After the last brain-teasing tidbit I want to leave you guys with. Sorry, I forgot one fucking thing that I included in the title, so I have to talk about it. I have to, right? I have to, because I put it in the title. I wrote it on the internet, so it has to be true. Floating rocks. Okay, I'm gonna do a video about this. I have right over there floating rocks. They're floating in water. Okay. If now, with the current electrostatic structure of matter in general, rock can float on water. If that is a given, okay, then could it be that a difference in the electrostatic state of the universe that we can detect through paleontology and archaeology as being evident from an increased density of the atmosphere? Okay. Sorry, I'm very tired, struggling to explain this. Could rocks float in air? Okay, and what I mean by the electrostatic distribution of matter, okay, that is basically how dense things are in general. Because if it's the electrostatic distribution of the universe that's controlling these things, is it, then it would be, if the atmosphere is denser, then rocks are denser. But being as its electrostaticness causing it, the atmosphere would get denser at a much higher rate proportionally than rock. Okay, so basically the scale of density would surpass, or could possibly surpass, the requirements of relative buoyancy, augmented possibly by individual magnetic aspects. And you could have a post-planar situation with a very dense atmosphere and an even more dense ocean than we have now, that basically land could float in air. If it can float in water, so I'm gonna have to shoot a little video of the rocks I have that are just sitting there floating in water. You know, like they're full of air. So basically, what would be the requirement for a plane to float? A plane, not an airplane, a plane. You know, the original type of plane that floated. Big coincidence, right? It would have to have life. You know, it would basically have to be a deity's vimana and have the associated ecosystem involved to produce, you know, a similar gaseous environment that we have now. Whereas opposed to, in the absence of life, you have more, much thicker gases, methane and carbon dioxide. Therefore, also actually ipso facto contributing to the possibility of planes floating, just fucking floating, and eventually crashing into the earth like India did. Anyways, so put that in your pipe and smoke it. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Y'all have a good night. Sorry I didn't remember whatever the hell that one tangent I was trying to go on was. And I'll go try to remember and get back to you on that. Y'all have a good one. Take it easy. Don't take it all. Hakuna Matata. Peace be with you. May the force be with you. Cheese and crackers. Brownies. Pudding pops. Whatever you need on a rainy day. That with you. Yeah. Prayers and blessings. And lots of chocolate chip cookies. Click the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Click the bell. Make sure you get notifications. Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Peace.
Now it takes my pain back to a place I don't understand. I know it's in my heart, and baby, down in my soul. You, baby, you can't take it no more. No, I know I'm walking out that door the way you treated me too many times before. Don't you know you love them, baby, too? Oh, you know I want you there, wanna be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side till the day I die. 'Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. But now you done and piss me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going off.